New Day, you've probably heard the term Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in the news lately. And like many of us on Team New Day, you might have questions about just what this is all about. So here to help us understand is a mentor from the UW Buerk Center for Entrepreneurship, Jesse Proudman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I didn't even know there were other Bitcoins. What is cryptocurrency and how many are there?
Yeah, so there are 1,300 of these. There's more than
Good Lord.
1,300 now in existence. The first was Bitcoin, was created in 2009. And then in the last, give or take 3 years, there's been this surge of new additions. And many of these are sort of focused on different problem sets. So while Bitcoin was the first and was really created as a store of value and a medium of exchange, there are now tokens that allow you to do things like exchange to run distributed applications on a global computer.
Sure, why not? I don't know what that means. So are these 1,300 kinds of currency competing to eventually emerge as the major big one?
Yeah, I think there are sort of a certain few that are trying to be that predominant store, and then there are others that are trying to act as a specific domain currency.
Okay, so let's say, just for the purposes of a discussion, that Bitcoin becomes a thing. What is the problem that it solves?
So today, in the United States, we don't really experience the problem that Bitcoin solves because we have a relatively stable currency.
Right.
But if you think about countries around the globe, like Venezuela, where the
Yes.
government is under conflict and you have sort of a not a stable base currency, Bitcoin allows individuals to have a store of value that is censorship resistant and can be sent around the globe.
So I might, with my whatever it is we have in Venezuela, buy Bitcoin instead of using local currency, and then I could buy things. I could store money there. I could invest with it, that whole thing, and avoid the currency problem.
Right, and one of the key characteristics of Bitcoin is it's anti-inflationary. So it has 21 million units that will ever be created, and that's programmed into the technology. So you know that there will never be more than that, and so buying a unit today, you can expect some level of appreciation of your asset versus deflation.
Okay, very interesting. So how much is one Bitcoin right now?
Right now, give or take this morning, about $14,000.
Okay, so let's say I bought Bitcoin and I wanted to use it to pay for something. Is there Bitcoin change? Can I get percentages of Bitcoin back?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bitcoin is measured in 8 decimals. So the smallest unit is called a Satoshi. And so you can divide it all the way down to those 8 decimals. And so when you spend, say, $5 of a Bitcoin, you can retain that fractional ownership. And you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy fractional Bitcoin.
So is the vision that someday there would be just a set of cryptocurrency and we'd be done with paper money and individual currencies around the world?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people involved in the project that believe that and are working towards that vision.
So today, I believe, Warren Buffett came out and said he doesn't think this is all going to go well. What do you think about that in terms of people investing in this at this point?
Yeah, so cryptocurrencies in general have been the best performing asset class in 5 of the last 6 years. They're very different. To me, it's a step function change in financial technology in the same way that, say, the internet in '95 changed the way we conducted business. Right. And so it's new, and I think you get a lot of folks involved in traditional finance that are uncomfortable with the differences. The fact that it's unregulated, the fact that there's no sort of central party that can reverse charges. There's a lot of elements that are so different from how sort of traditional finance is operated that it makes people nervous. But Jamie Dimon, for example, called Bitcoin a fraud a number of months ago and then came out yesterday and said, well, I regret calling Bitcoin a fraud.
Right.
I think as people become more educated and involved in the community, they begin to understand it much more.
Well, I remember when personal computing started, and I thought, nobody's ever going to use that to bank. Are you kidding? That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then here we are. It does make sense to me because it does solve problems that we do have globally and might eventually make the entire global economy work in a smoother, more fair way. But does that mean that there's going to have to be some place where this is regulated and there are more rules and it can't just be kind of a wild west of currency?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's slowly evolving over time. The SEC has done a great job beginning to add regulation, particularly on some of the more exotic instruments that are involved in Bitcoin. So there's things called an ICO, which is where a company can issue their own token. So that these 1,300, that's how these are created. And the SEC has created some rules around how those work now. So we're beginning to see that, and they're doing a good job implementing those rules in a way that doesn't stifle the innovation.
Okay, so let's say you're just an ordinary schmo like me and you want to learn about this. What are some of the popular journalism sorts of places that we could go and learn more about this?
So there's a whole set of websites that produce sort of daily news. CoinDesk is one of the most popular.
Okay.
I think actually CoinDesk now gets more views than the Financial Times.
Wow.
Blockchain.info is another website that has a bunch of news and sort of statistical information about these currencies.
And who is inventing these things?
So Bitcoin was created in 2009 by an anonymous individual or group nobody really knows.
We don't know.
We don't know. His name's Satoshi Nakamoto. And so that was sort of the origination.
Is that the actual name?
That was the name of the pseudonym that the individual or group used online. Now there's a group of people that sort of maintain the code base. It's an open source project and maintained by an international group of individuals.
So these are mathematicians?
Mathematicians, cryptographers, computer scientists.
Right. Yeah. And you can check all this on your phone. You can follow all this, and,
Yep.
and that's how you would keep up with it.
Yep.
And so if you do this, I mean, who takes Bitcoin? How do I do this?
Yeah.
If I had, enough money to buy a Bitcoin, how would I do this?
Yeah, so there are a number of companies online that support Bitcoin, but there are also services that will allow you to, say, buy something on Amazon using Bitcoin, and they act as the intermediary. So you send them the Bitcoin, they transact it into US dollars and send that to Amazon. So there are places that allow you to, the ability to spend at an increased number of merchants is there.
Interesting. Life comes at you fast,
It
right?
does.
Bitcoin comes at you fast. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That's a good kind of primer for us. Up next, we're grilling up barbecued oysters. I understand that so much better with James Beard-nominated food writer Langdon Cook. Back after this.